Dom Wells, thank you for joining me again on Acquiring Minds.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's great to be back.
Dom, you're the CEO of OnFolio, which acquires and operates internet businesses. This is your second time on the pod. You were a guest back in May, and we talked about the different types of digital businesses that a acquisition entrepreneur, a searcher might buy. So e-commerce, SaaS, lead gen, online courses. And in fact, since then, OnFolio has acquired an online course. And in fact, it was one that you and I even spoke about. It's called Proofread Anywhere. And it is a course that teaches people how to earn money as proofreaders. So I wanted to learn more about this acquisition, do a deep dive into it. Because as we talked about in that conversation back in May, successful online courses can be great businesses, very high margins. But they do suffer, many of them, from a particular weakness, which is that they can be really tied up in the brand of the founder, who is often, the face of the course, the promoter of the course, often the person who might even teach the course. And Proofread Anywhere is a perfect example. The woman who founded it was really kind of the face of the course as I understood. So I want to understand how you are going to take this business forward with that key woman risk, taking into account that key woman risk. But start us off, Dom, with just telling us kind of the highlights, the bullet points about Proofread Anywhere, please.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so as you mentioned, it's a course teaching people to build a career as a proofreader. It's just a one-time fee. People come in, they buy the course, and there's various tiers. So they can buy, like with every course, there's like the basic course, and then there's the pro version, which comes with more teaching. You get access to a community, and there's a few other kind of side offers, like smaller courses as well. The main thing for us is we don't really think of it as a kind of how to be a proofreader course, even though that's what it is. We think of it more as it's like a career opportunity course, or something that can teach people, one of the many ways to build an income online, which is part of the reason it appealed to us.
So how much you said there was tiers, but give us a sense of the pricing.
So the main one is $500, $497, and then there's a few other smaller ones. So the main thing is there's no like kind of $50 starter course that you might see elsewhere. It's really there's like a smaller one which is still several $100s, and then there's the $500 one is the main driver, what most people go for.
Yeah. And let's just explain to the audience. I have purchased multi-$100 courses, and I suspect many people listening have, but I also imagine that a lot of people haven't and can't imagine spending $500 or $900. Sorry, $997, because they always end in a 7. That's the pricing strategy of courses. They can't imagine spending that when you might go to one of the big online course platforms, and they're selling them, like you said, there's probably a $50 option. Sometimes you'll see sales for $10 and $20 options. So just explain how courses a course can position itself to be so premium, to charge such a premium when there is a lot of competition that's a lot more expensive.
I think it's a few things, but first of all, they position themselves as being premium. They often come with a community, and the people who are typically promoting the more expensive courses, they have a large audience. They have a lot of like brand affinity already, and just the depth of the course is usually better, but it's perceived as being better as well. Like at the end of the day, you can go to Udemy and buy a course for $47.
Exactly.
But I guess the short answer is, you kind of get what you pay for. And a lot of people are aware of that. And it's not saying that people who pay a $47 course are cheap or anything. It's just people who buy a more expensive course are probably looking for a more premium experience.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's just the old, price communicates value psychology. But it's just it's just such a stark difference, 10 times more expensive. But I paid $500 for an SEO course, and I've never bought a $25 SEO course, so it shouldn't be that mysterious to me. Okay. And just, again, a little bit more about the business. So how old is this? When was it founded? And, kind of give us a sense of did it grow, kind of its growth trajectory? And then what you can share, what you recall about the founder of the business, and, which is really going to be the crux of this conversation. And I know I happen to know a little bit about her. Caitlin Pyle, I think is her name. And what her story is and how she ended up doing a course about proofreading.
Yeah. So she launched it in 2014.
Okay.
And the course has been, I would say it's the market leader. There's probably more copycats around these days, but Proofread Anyway is still considered generally the best. Something like 15,000 people have gone through the course over those 7 or 8 years. And we actually, Proofread Anyway uses ClickFunnels as its back end for facilitating sales and giving people the access that they need and so on. And Caitlin's actually been, she's spoken at events in the ClickFunnels community. She's well known in the community as someone who's built a good course. So when we saw Proofread Anywhere was for sale, we actually were already familiar with the brand. And I think that's part of the reason why Caitlin sold to us rather than some of the other bidders, because she knew she was like, oh, you guys are in the ClickFunnels community, you're my people, or, I understand you. So she knew we weren't just some private equity firm that were going to destroy her legacy, So, off the top of my head, I can't remember exactly why she chose proofreading rather than a different course, but from what I can remember, she built her own career as a proofreader first, and then just was like, okay, I can teach others to do the same, rather than she was an SEO who saw that there was a keyword opportunity and built a course around that. It was more I learned how to do this and now I'm going to teach others how to do it, which is part of the reason why the course is so successful, because she has, that knowledge and the credentials to back it up.
Well, and the perfect story. So this is a perfect segue. So yes, she got into proofreading herself, was making 50 grand a year or something. And it blew her mind and that she could do this. And then, so she wanted to teach other people how to do it. And so she just, she just kind of personally invested in this mission. So how is it how are you guys going to, take the baton, and when, her personal story is so wrapped up in this course?
Yeah, and it's a good question, and I kind of want to break down the reasons why often courses are hard to buy when they're so wrapped up in the owner, because there's a lot of reasons that we pass on courses, on other courses, and it being too wrapped up in the owner is a big part of it. But it's not necessarily the owner's face or the owner's story. It's often the owner is the one going out and generating business for the course. They're promoting the course, they're selling the course, maybe they're speaking at events like how to be a proofreader. Maybe they're doing the back end, they're actually teaching the course themselves. They are doing webinars with students, they're fulfilling everything. maybe what else? So there's those two. There is the fact that they're the face of the brand, so that's the third one. And they're also usually doing a lot of back-end operations. So there's this kind of danger where you take over the brand and it just kind of dies because everyone's like, oh, you're not teaching the course anymore, or like, oh, you're not out there in Facebook groups or at conferences like evangelizing the brand, or just all of these things. But with Proofread Anywhere, Caitlin was the face and she recorded all the videos, but she's not really doing anything else. She wasn't running the business. There's a guy called Cody on the back end who was the CEO, and actually the costs of replacing him as CEO were built into the P&L, which is very rare in an online business. So we didn't have to increase our expenses to hire someone to run the brand. She's not really, and then back to Caitlin. Caitlin's not going out and actively marketing the course. A large part of the course comes from Facebook ads, and those can all continue. And she's recorded something like 6 to 12 months worth of like ad creatives and videos for us to use already, and that was part of the arrangement. We also have the rights to use her image for I think 2 years after the acquisition. So we've got plenty of time to transition away from her and into somebody else. And there were some other things in our evaluation where, while Caitlin is the face, there was also some, and I don't want to go too much into this point because I think Caitlin's great, but there was some language on some of the sales pages which we thought actually was a little bit antagonistic, where it was like, why do I need to pay for your course? And the reply was kind of like, why should I give it to you for free? That kind of FAQ. And so we thought there's actually some things we can improve about the brand and the way it interacts with its audience. And so it wouldn't be the end of the world if 2 years from now, Caitlin's not the face of the brand. Like, it's not going to affect our ability to generate sales. It's not going to affect people's experience of the course, and it's not going to affect our ability to run the business. But if she was just going to bounce on day one, not let us use her image anymore, then that would be an issue, and we probably wouldn't have bought it. And she understood that. Like, there was no negotiation needed. She was like, yeah, of course. So that's kind of how we approached that particular risk. And it is unique because most businesses, the reason I knew it could work was because that was actually how we did it when I sold my previous company. And I was the face of the brand, but I wasn't involved in the fulfillment of anything. I wasn't really involved in any of the biz dev. It was just my face. So we just said to the owner, you can keep my face and just transition me out over time. And I think if you go to that old brand now, I'm not there at all. And from what I can tell, he's grown the business. So seeing that play out gave us a bit of confidence that we could do the same thing.
Okay, so the core of this is that basically while she was the face of the business, all of kind of the back office and running the business, she had done a great job of hiring people to delegate. So none of that is wrapped up in her. And that you have this plan to use her likeness, her image for some transition period. And she's on board with that. She gets that to eventually kind of ease her brand, her face out of the brand. What does that look like? What does it look like in month 12, 18?
Yeah, and look, who knows exactly how it's going to go, because online businesses are so dynamic. It may end up changing, but the general idea is the way I've seen it work well before and how we're planning to do it is you basically just slowly introduce other people over time. So there's like an overlap period where, so let's say, for example, in the Facebook ads, sometimes it will be Caitlin, sometimes it will be whoever the new face is going to be. And then sometimes obviously in an ideal world, you do them together, but we probably won't have that ability. And so people get used to seeing the new face, and then the old face kind of appears less. And then one day it's like just the new face. So it's a classic thing. Like if you wanted to get rid of, if you no longer wanted to host this podcast, and you were worried that people were going to be, they're attached to you, they've got used to your voice, and they're kind of like, who's this new guy? Like there probably would be a little bit of a drop off. So what you would do is you would bring your new host on to co-host with you for however many episodes, and then every now and then they do an episode by themselves. They're like, oh, Will's busy right now, and then eventually it's just them. And again, I've done that before with a podcast pretty successfully. It helped that the person that replaced me was actually better at podcasting than I was, so that's always a bonus. And we took over a brand about a year ago where the founder was doing all the Facebook ads and training videos and stuff, and we introduced a new person who was going to come on and like run the business, and then now that person's just in all the videos and everything, and it's almost as if the original founder never existed. So I think the fear of what happens is actually often greater than, like, most people don't care, and of course, people who bought the course because of Caitlin, if she left, they might be like, oh, Caitlin's left, that sucks. But new people, like a year from now, a lot of people won't necessarily know that Caitlin ever existed. I mean, not in I'm trying to say that in as positive a way as possible, but if it's like, hey, I'm Sally, here's Proofread Anywhere, and the main thing is what worked about Proofread Anywhere with Caitlin is, first of all, Caitlin's personality. She's great, but also, like you said, her story, it's authentic. And we've got 15,000 students who, not all of them have the same success that Caitlin had, but many of them have done just as well as Caitlin because of her course. So that's actually an even more powerful story. Mm-hmm. So if we have the ability, and so I don't know how far along we are on this, because A, we've only been running the business since October, and B, I'm not the general manager of Proofread Anywhere. But the idea is we're going to find one or even two or three of her students, and ones who are charismatic and good on camera, but crucially ones who actually had a very good success through the course, and then they'll be the new brand evangelists. And I actually think that's even more powerful, because they can even say, like, hey, I've been through this course. I built my business because of this course. Totally. Because again, I don't know, people who take a lot of online courses will know this. Some people don't, but a lot of online courses are built by a founder who had success once and then taught what worked for them. And a lot of the time there's a bit of luck involved. And you can't teach that in a course. So there's a lot of times you buy a course, and the founder of the course is genuine. They've told you everything that they did, and it worked for them, 100% authentic, but it still might not work for you. And so if I was considering taking a course, and the course was now being taught by 3 or 4 people who had gone through the course and had success with it, I'd actually, I'd be more encouraged by that. So
completely. That's such a great point.
Yeah, so I think long term, the future's more than bright for the brand. And actually, as you talked about, $500 is quite a jump. We actually would quite like to implement, like a $90 offering, or, just the ability for people to get their feet wet and know that we're legit, and then, or that, they want that this is a career for them, and then have the ability to go to a more expensive course later. So really the only part to manage is, how do you make it so that when you buy the business, it doesn't die immediately, like while you're transitioning? And I think I've spoken to that already. Yeah.
And then just the other thing that a course founder really brings is like the vision for the product. They're also basically the product visionary. All of the content, the syllabus, all of that comes from their mind, and they really bleed into that. Now, I recognize that a lot of people can do courses, and so maybe I'm answering my own question, but is it as simple as finding other people who just basically know how to develop proofreading skills and then go out to market and get jobs as proofreaders? And it's really, while she might have poured her blood, sweat, and tears into this product, it's not hard to find other people who can develop new content for the course on an ongoing basis.
Yeah, I think it's a mixture of both. Like you need people who have the subject matter expertise, who can teach the course and represent the brand and be like, yes, here's how you become a professional proofreader. But you also need people who know kind of online business or online course businesses, and people who can think of how to improve funnels, like sales funnels, how to do product development. And that's what Proofread Anywhere did really well before, because you had Caitlin, who was the teacher. She does product development. She still helped with marketing, but Cody was the guy that did all the real sales and everything. At least for the last couple of years. I don't know if Caitlin started out on her own. And so what we did was, when we were considering hiring somebody to be the new CEO of Proofread Anywhere, we said, here's the business, sign an NDA. We're thinking to buy this one. What do you think about it? What would you do to improve it? And so on. And they recorded like a 25-minute Loom video of just awesomeness. They're like, oh yeah, this is a great business. Here's what's great about it. Here's what I think I could improve. This is confusing. He found some things where, for example, I know people like to hear tactics. So a lot of the introductions to the brand, like the customer journey, is a free webinar, a free 1 hour workshop, a free ebook, and then pay $500. And so a lot of the feedback from students is just a little bit like, well, I wasn't expecting to have to suddenly pay for something. And so there's a little bit of dissonance there, where we can either kind of be more upfront, like, look, we have a paid course, this is what we do, but you can get a free taster of it here. Or here's like a $50 course to get involved first, and then you can stair step to the 500 one. So just things like that he identified. And we don't know that these are going to work, because you never know until you try them. But, it gave us the confidence that from a product development side and a operations and like a biz dev side, like, okay, yeah, we've got someone who knows what they're doing. And then we've got a lot of student feedback and a lot of like successful students who can make sure to help us with the other stuff we talked about, like, the kind of subject matter expertise.
I want to, one thing that you just said there reminds me of something you said to me in May, which is like a big part of the success of courses, or the operational intelligence that you need to do a course well, is that funnel mastery. I mean, a lot of the online course game is about funnels. Hence why Caitlin was a regular face at ClickFunnels events and so on. ClickFunnels being a big SaaS tool for people doing funnels, for those who don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually the downside of Udemy for a lot. So a lot of people launch a course, they stick it on Udemy, job done. But you go to Udemy and you can see how many students a course has. There's a lot of very good courses on Udemy with like 1,000 students. No, let's say even worse, like 100 students, and the course has been around for 4 years. So they've made lifetime, they've made like $4,000 in 4 years from creating a very good course. Yeah. So if creating a good course was the thing that's going to move the lever, they'd have a lot more students. So like you say, it's about the ability to build the sales funnels.
I want to compare this to SaaS. So margins are very similar in SaaS and courses. I mean, the marginal margin, for selling a new unit costs you nothing, essentially, in both. It's just bits that you're selling. But one of the and so it's one of the reasons people really like software. The margins are so good. But of course, if you buy a SaaS business, you do need to price in the fact that there will be ongoing product and feature development. You're going to have to, the product never is never static. It's never finished. So you need to basically allocate resources every year to continue to build out your product, your SaaS product. In a course, is it the same thing? Or is this course done? Like what Caitlin has, the content is basically done, maybe around the edges, you need to keep things current. The job market for proofreaders probably evolves a little bit year over year. But you don't, basically, how much are you allocating to ongoing development of the course?
Yeah, good question. I think with most courses, there's always going to be a few things here and there that update. Like, for example, let's say you're teaching a course about Facebook ads. That video is going to be fundamentally the course is going to be fundamentally sound up until, like, say, a big thing like iOS 14, which changed the game for Facebook ads. But even outside of a big thing like that, which changes the game, it's more or less going to be sound for years. But Facebook changes their back end like every, 3 months, because somebody gets paid $400K a year. They need to do something. It's like you log in and you're like, why is this moved again? Well, I don't know. There's no reason for moving around their back end every 6 weeks. Yeah. So it must be that someone gets paid $400K a year. You kind of saw that with all the Twitter layoffs and joke layoffs, where people are like, yeah, I was paid $500K a year to change the color of the like button every now and then. Yeah. Anyway, so what some people do is every time there's a small change to something, like if we're teaching people how to install WordPress so they can build their proofreading website, maybe the version of WordPress is no longer up to date, so it doesn't match the video. So you can kind of just say to people like, look, the back end changes. If it changes significantly, we'll update this video. If not, don't worry about it. Because some people do get quite annoyed. Like, you said click the button that says start here, but it's actually start there, But the fundamentals of, if you take this course and follow these steps, you will succeed in the outcome that the course is teaching. Usually that doesn't change. So kind of back to your question about how much are we allocating, I would say we're more focused on additional product development. So like I talked about, bringing in some lower end offers. I don't know if we're going to do this because we're still like doing a little bit of R&D for it. But a lot of people are like, will you guarantee that I get a job as a proofreader if I take this course? And we don't, because that's actually not what the course is for. But maybe there's something out there where people can pay us to find a job as a recruiter. Or maybe there's something out there where we can partner with recruitment agencies to find a proofreader. Sorry, I said recruiter because I was thinking ahead of myself, but like they can partner with a recruiter to find a job as a proofreader. That's just an idea. Like, I have no idea if it's viable. Maybe it won't be, but we're focusing more on like, okay, what can we do to augment the current course suite? And then we just update it where it's necessary. Like if something like it needs updating because, maybe there's a module about how to file your taxes as a proofreader, and then the tax laws change, something like that. You have to go back and change that. But otherwise, essentially a course is done. So it's different from SaaS in that way. But it's also different from SaaS because it doesn't have recurring revenue. So SaaS has a little bit of, the forecasting looks different with SaaS. Although many courses do have recurring revenue. So there are similarities, sure.
Dom, last question for you. So, given that you've laid out this kind of roadmap for or playbook for acquiring a course that, or you've spelled out what sort of course would be a good candidate for acquisition, even when the founder might be the face of that course. Does that mean that there are a lot of courses out there? Does that mean that digital acquisition entrepreneurs listening to this should consider looking for courses out there? What's the opportunity here? What's the opportunity takeaway from this conversation between you and me? Or is it going to Udemy and finding some really great, but really great course that the poor guy's only made $4,000 over 4 years, but the content is, great, and he should be selling it for $9.97 and approaching him and buying his, what would you tell the audience is their next step? You're smiling. Is that already your strategy?
Maybe. I forgot it was video. I was like, I've got someone on my team who will be annoyed if I answer that question. I would say it depends on your skill set. Like is your skill set, that could be a viable strategy. Is your skill set selling courses? Is your skill set creating courses? So an acquisition entrepreneur is probably going to want to look for a course. Yeah, buy a course, improve the back end. I still think I think there's risk involved with buying a course and taking it off Udemy because you have no idea if it's going to sell. And you have no idea if the Udemy course creator is going to want to sell. Because who knows? I think that is a potential strategy for sure. I think the better thing to do is find a course that's already doing well, and ideally where there isn't some kind of key man or key woman, key person risk with the course owner / founder, creator. There are courses out there where there is no face.
Yeah,
and
sure.
You could. Not only does that remove that risk, but also it gives you an opportunity because generally courses sell better when there is a face. So you can then add in a face. Yep. If I was going to buy a course off Udemy, I'd probably try and buy one that was doing well on Udemy and just keep it on Udemy. And, I try to avoid uncertainty. But that being said, that's not a bad idea.
Well, I'm going to leave it there, Dom. Thank you very much for talking to us about Proofread Anywhere, this acquisition and the strategy of acquiring a course. Super fascinating to me. As I said, I've ponied up for a number of courses, so I really appreciate the business model as both a consumer and an potential acquisition entrepreneur. So until next time.
Yeah, thanks a lot.